Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It is Wednesday. It's March the 18th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And as you know, today was an FOMC announcement day. It was pretty straightforward, and the price action is still perfect here. Everything played out exactly. The only problem was you generally want to be flat 30 minutes to an hour going into the announcement. Um, and then you don't want to try getting back into this until it kind of settles down, which is I wasn't even going to mark anything after 1 o'clock, but I got to looking at it. It had kind of slowed down. The market, I would say, from this point on, maybe right in here, was basically back to normal for the most part. And you can see the price action still plays out. We had this two-tiered channel. Didn't matter if you saw that. We had a little spike in channel here. You can kind of see, you could have drawn your trend lines. I got the shorter term ones, and then a two-legged correction, and then another one. And you really would have wanted to be looking for, once this started working lower here, you could measure here first, but this is pretty much the whole first move, and then you had the correction. I would have been looking for that, and we didn't get anywhere near that. But of course, this was an FOMC day, but that would have probably could have kept you into your shorts at least until before the into the noon Central Standard Time. I'm using my times, but I also would have measured that and used that as a possible target. And you see, we still didn't even quite get that today, but we did get the break. There's a bigger two-tier channel, which you may not have had it until we turned down right here. Um, but either way, notice it held all the way down through there until you get the break, and then there's two legs down, and it reverses, and that's what you would expect to happen. Not You don't necessarily know that it's going to reverse, but you expect a correction after that that lasts at least about an hour or so, maybe longer. But in this case, it reversed. It works higher. You get the break of your two-tiered channel here. Notice it overshot at first until it worked back over, and then we got a break, and then a nice move up, a couple of legs up, and then it's been correcting ever since. So the price action worked perfectly, even during the news. Um, this is a big news event. Evidently, the market liked what it heard on the Fed statement today. We don't care what they say, and it doesn't really matter if you knew what they were going to say in advance. You don't know how the market's going to react to it, so it's not worth trying to guess or trade it or whatever. Um, if you if it's moving slow enough to read the price action, by all means you can trade it, but be real careful because generally on most big news items, the market will take it back pretty quickly. It didn't happen today. It continued working higher until um, just into the close. But we got to move a long way to take that back. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if during the overnight or tomorrow we don't work back down and take all that back, but we'll just have to see uh, because nothing's 100% in the markets. But generally, that is the pretty much the standard is that the market will take back those news moves and kind of what I call it almost resets and starts over. And it may work higher again from there, or once it resets back down here, it may work lower. So, but generally it'll pull back and reset and start over and then start working back with the way it took off with the news or whatever. So, but even if you didn't see the bigger channel, two-tiered channel here, there was still, let me just move these out of the way. You can see that there was a spike down in a little channel here and then a two-legged correction, and we had the break and the new low and then a two-legged correction. Then we got another little channel working down and the break, a couple of legs down to a new low. So it didn't matter if you saw the bigger one, and that's what I always tell people, try to get across to them, is it doesn't matter if you don't always see the bigger pattern, because if you don't see the bigger pattern, work work off the larger I mean the smaller patterns, and because they're still valid. And so let's back out though and talk about the trades. And hopefully I got all my audio issues. Somebody sent me an email and said there was still a little bit of noise and clicking in yesterday's, but I've accounted for that and I was aware of that. That was because my battery was getting low too, and I didn't want to hang around and wait on my battery to charge some. So I just plugged in my charger, and it does tend to, if I try to use the headphones while the charger's plugged in, it does tend to cause some clicking noises and some different things. But anyway, I think we've got that resolved. If we have some more today, by all means, let me know, and we can kind of go from there. So, but I'll test it after I get done to be sure. Probably post it regardless, but just may mean I need to do some more work to try to get the audio straightened out. But I think we've got it now, and hopefully we won't have any more problems. So, but anyway, there weren't a whole lot of trades until about 10 o'clock, and then we had quite a few down through here. So plenty of chances to make all your money today before the news even comes out. You had to be patient, and you'll notice I only had about before 10 o'clock. I only had a couple of trades marked. There wasn't much going on early, but early on we had this trend working down here, and you can see we had a break, and then so now you're expecting it to move to a new low. Double bottom here, so you can count this as a low. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and there's a little trap up there too that broke higher and turned down. I didn't necessarily like going short below that one with a stop. You might use a limit order here, but I really don't like that signal bar. So I think you were probably better to wait on this one, and then if you got a break below it, I liked going short. But this one was real close to being green. But I think you're okay to go short there, because on a move that strong, it's going to be rare that you don't at least touch those lows or test those lows again. And so you're going to test them pretty quickly as well. So I like that one. This one right here, well, we'll talk about that here in just a second. But anyway, on this one, I would definitely, it's real borderline being green. So I would definitely say use a limit order or wait on this bar, and then if you get see if it ends up more bearish, which it does, and then see if you can get a break below it and use a limit order and try to get your entry where you originally would get in. But didn't matter even if you use a stop, you would have gotten out on that one. Then you get the pull back, and we're working down. So I liked, and this is really like a new swing low here is what I wanted to explain. But the big thing is you've got this little possible trend line working down through here. If you get this one off the top, then that makes you question where the low one is. And, you're thinking it could be here, but you've got some things going on here from your original one. And I didn't like how close that was to the lows. It's a nice signal bar. If you took it, I mean, it's almost hard to not want to take it as well, but you're just so close. Look at all that stem there and all that stem. You know something's going on there. Even if you don't know this trend line's there, you know something is causing prices to bounce right across there. And there's just not enough room. That line's not very straight. So this one is a little bit difficult to explain, other than the fact that you're getting all those bounces. And you see that little gap right there too? There's something going on across there. I was thinking maybe it was more of a support area, which it does look kind of like a support area across there as well. But I believe really what caused that one to bounce there was this line here in the end. But at the time, I knew you know something's going on there. You got to be alert to it. If you don't see that, then you're probably going to go short right there. If you're not taking into account that swing's only right there, and then that one's only right there, and the close is even higher. So, and you had a double bottom down here as well. So this is looking like a reversal pattern. So I think you're better just to skip that and wait, and let's see what happens and see if you don't get a failed second entry long. And guess what? It turns up right there, and look at that reversal bar, and you're getting in a lot higher. You got the trap now. Notice that high pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and notice all that congestion right there. It's like a little failed break out of that little trading range as well. And so that's where you want to enter if you're going to go short here. And notice how it goes right on through that this time. It didn't go very much further, but it got through. And by that time, it's really bouncing down here, and that's acting as strong support no matter how you look at it. So I think you're better off just to sit at this point and see what else happens. because now you've got your break of this. You've actually got a new low and you've got a double bottom there. It did push down one more time, but I don't think you want to enter there. I think you're better off just to wait. And it reverses. I didn't like going long yet either, even though you got a break and a couple of legs down. Um, I just don't. I don't like going long right there because the overall bias is just down and all the big moves have been down. You could have treated it like a failed break lower, but I think you're better off to wait and see if you don't get a better short. Um, and of course you do right here. Notice the move up, first entry, pullback, second entry. And again, I circled this one green. It's not a very good signal bar. You do have your break of this channel and two legs up to a new high. I think you're better off to wait on a second entry. If it would have went higher right here and then turned down, I probably would have marked that red. But the fact that you just had a doji and it broke below that, this was really what you needed to wait on, let it break below, and then use a limit order. And if you really want to be aggressive, you might could go short right there. Again, I don't think it's a great setup, but there's enough reasons. And this does go back. There are some matching highs across there too. And this is not long enough, but this does look a lot like a trading range, and that's a failed break with a downward bias. So there's another reason to take it right there. But it bounces again, and this kind of sets your trend line, those first two swings. And then, but I like going short now because now you got all those matching highs across there, and you got that failed break higher, and it turns down. And notice the new low pullback. There's like a first entry pullback, second entry right there. And I like going short below that. I probably would have used a limit order, but when it turns up again and then turns down, and even though that looks like a doji, that's close enough to closing on its very low. I'm trying to make this a little bigger. It's kind of hard to see. This is such a crazy day that, there we go. That's a bearish reversal bar, but it's also, this confirmed the trend line, and they just tested it one more time, and off it goes. And it really, as bearish as that one is, you could have even gone short right there, because now you know you're probably going to go and make a new low, most likely. And you should have had this trend line here, and so everything's working off that trend line, and then it pulls back and tests it again. But remember the shorter term one in there as well. You got two swings, and that confirms. Look how bearish. That's a second entry, and then you get another second entry. You just keep getting these little second entries all the way down here. This is not really a second entry here because it did not break lower, but that's the first break of these trend lines working through here, and you can see there's a move up, a little pullback, and then a second leg up. So if you went to just even a slightly smaller chart, you would see two clear legs up, and that's a nice bearish reversal bar. So I like that one too, because you figure we're going to make a new low here after a move like that right there, and the fact that we're not generating anything to the upside. And then it pulls back and tests the trend line again, the EMA, and turns back down. That's a second entry. And you'd be looking for, you're still looking for prices to make a new low. And then you get one more. Notice the new low pullback, first entry, pullback, second entry. It is a second entry short. Look how bearish that is. Just go short below it. And there is one caveat to this. This occurred during the noon hour, and sometimes this thing will just get stuck from about noon on. And so there's always a chance that you can get stuck in there, but the price action says you need to go short here. It's a good setup. You're probably going to get a new low, and that's what ends up happening. And it's also a breakout pullback short between those little double bottom right there. So there's a couple of different reasons to take that one. And if it takes off lower, you're probably going to look for a measured move like this right here. And so you got plenty of room to get, as far as what you're looking for. And you can see that's a perfect measured move, exactly to the tick. But you got to remember, and so I almost made this one green, but I just think it's too nice a setup. And, you ought to be able, hopefully you're going to get out of that one real quick and get out 30 minutes or so before the news comes out. And so it just depends on how you're feeling about the market and all, if you want to take that trade or not. And again, I wasn't going to mark anything after that, but if you saw this two-tiered channel, um, and really this is just, notice the new low right there, pull back first entry, pull back second entry. It really doesn't break higher there, but this is still a little double test of the midline after we've already tested it once before. I like that one. And of course it does take on off. And I would be looking for a measured move like that. Let's just measure and see how close it was. You can see closing wise is perfect. It might have went one tick higher. And then of course it pulls back, first entry, pull back. Actually, I didn't notice that right there. It's a second entry right there. But it doesn't matter. It's still a bounce right off the EMA, even though this is a third entry. But you can see that it's close enough to look like one move down. And that's the first time we've come back to that trend line. Look how bullish that bar is. So it's the first time we've tested the EMA or the trend line. And so you figure it's going to at least pull back and test this high again. And that's what happens. It goes a little higher, and then you get the break, and then it's off. But I didn't mark anything after that. There's probably another trade over in here too, but I didn't mark any of them. So I actually left right before the lunch hour, and I didn't want him here when all this happened. So I've learned that if I get my money early, I'm not even gonna hang around for that stuff. So it's just not worth getting caught in there on the wrong side. And if you catch it right, it's great. But generally, I like to be flat by noontime on FOMC days, and I generally don't even hang around to watch it. So unless I just need to be in the office. Of course, if I'm here, I'm usually even if I'm doing something else, I always have my charts open watching them. So you always want to get as much screen time as you can, regardless, because that's how you get better at this. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Hopefully things will be kind of back to normal tomorrow. The market it really liked what it heard from the Fed. And so this might continue. I mean, you see how quickly we're almost back to 2100 again. So, I mean, it looked like this. I mean, we took back, what is that? We were at 2050 or so, and we got all the way to 2100. I mean, that's 50 points in one day, one move. I mean, that's humongous. So, if you could catch something like that, but I just think it's risky because sometimes it'll shoot up real fast and then shoot down real fast, and you might get a piece of it, but if you start trying to sneak in there and get a piece of that, you'll get burned. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. I'd rather trade the stuff that's moving normal and that you got time to analyze it and not get caught apart. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for the day. Hopefully, like I said, we'll kind of be back to normal tomorrow, and maybe we'll get some good movement tomorrow as well and have a good trading day. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow to do it again. This is Mack, section trading, and we'll see you next time.